there's one Elon Musk, right? Like, I don't want to be Elon Musk.
Seems like a tortured life to me.
I missed out on too many milestones. I saw too many cool things happen with my son, like from a text message from my wife. I just can't continue to do things this way. I get this phone call and I answer it, about to board a flight home. This guy identifies himself as an agent from whatever agency and says, like, we have a problem. I always come back to that saying of, like, revenue is loud, but regret's quiet. It doesn't show up on a P&L.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Invest Your Time Wisely podcast. I'm Sean Kirby, and today I'm joined by one of my longtime old school baseball buddies. I went and I tracked this down. So I'm joined today by Cody Branham. Cody and I have known each other literally since we were boys. And then when this first episode of the Invest Your Time Wisely podcast came out a couple weeks ago, Cody actually reached out to me, said, hey, I love it. We grabbed beers in the middle of the day. We caught up, and I got to hear more about his story. And after hearing about how he has really grown both personally and professionally, I wanted to hear more about how he is trying to invest his time wisely as he's growing his family. And I think you guys can learn a lot from that. So, Cody, appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, it's
bright and early.
It is.
I appreciate you doing this on a Monday.
We've got young ones. We're used to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like to leave my house before 9 o'clock if I don't have to most of the time. I know my wife
wouldn't
can
avoid it.
Yeah. All right. So let's set stage. Obviously, you no longer look like this little boy that I took off my dad's wall before I came in today. And I do have to take this back. Otherwise, he will ream me, because I think this was the only part of my life he really enjoyed. That and his grandkids now. But let's go ahead. Let's look back at kind of where you kind of grew up, all that sort of stuff. And then how did we kind of get here today?
Yeah. I mean, growing up, like Sean alluded to, both grew up in Pendleton, played baseball together. Sports was like a huge part of my life. I think that's what fueled a lot of my competitive drive. Now I live it out a lot differently. It's more in a business setting. Yeah. From, I guess, childhood, went to, I guess, backing things up, I kind of lived my life how I thought I was supposed to, right? So you graduate high school, you go to college, supposed to do all 4 years, get out, get a job like in some corporate environment, try to climb that ladder, and then just live a comfortable life. Hopefully accumulate wealth along the way is, kind of what we're taught, but that is not how things worked out for me at all. So yeah, I went to college, went to IUPUI, downtown Indy, partied my butt off. I could not handle the freedom. Like it was so bad. Like even I think back to it like pretty often, especially when I talk to like some youngsters that I have working for me now that are currently in college, and they're stressed. They don't know what they want to do. They don't have a plan. Yeah, I just tell them, like, guys, I don't know what I want to do still. Like, and I'm okay. Like, you're going to be okay just because it has to be. But I partied my butt off at IUPUI, came home after that first year. I think I was on like academic probation, and I literally couldn't go back that next semester. So felt super lost, like felt super broken just as a guy. I'm at this point, 19 after your freshman year of college. Not welcome back on campus. Had the time of my life, but also knew I royally screwed up in the process.
I've been there too.
But did a ton of like reflecting of like, all right, this isn't going to work. Like, I've just got to find a way. So like, what does that look like? So went to Ivy Tech, I believe, for like a year or two. I didn't graduate from there, just got as many credits as I needed to like get back in. Started working full time. I worked a bunch of random jobs. Like one of them was I sold, ironically, like Kirby vacuums.
That's fun.
Like door to door. Miserable. I learned that I did not like that experience, but it's part of the journey. I think that one just kind of taught me, like, in order to get where you want to go, or in order to get into a better spot, like, you have to make sacrifices. Like, I think a lot of times people get hung up on just being uncomfortable and they can't move past that. And that was a lot of why I was like stuck at home. So like whenever I got home from college, knew I couldn't go back that next semester, I wasn't going to be with now my best friends I had, because I just lived with them for a year and had the time of my life. So I just felt super, super stuck. Like, what am I going to do? So I think I just had a moment of realization of like, I think there's a military quote, like, embrace the suck. I had to just embrace the suck. So I'm like, I can choose what's hard. Like, I can either find a way to weasel my way back onto campus and then like inevitably party more and mess up more, right? But I was like, why don't I take a hard route that's going to benefit me later on? These aren't things I was thinking consciously at the time. It was more, when I'm feeling stuck, I'm like, all right, I've got to do something to make myself proud later on. And I think that's something that I've now kept with me over the course of my life. after the fact. But yeah, came home super stuck, worked some odds and ends jobs. I end up getting a job at it's a company called Ketter. It's actually in Anderson. Is
Yeah.
not their, I think it might be their North American headquarters still, but it's a plastics manufacturer, injection molding. So I started in logistics customer service there. I think I was maybe 20. It would have been like around the time of my sophomore year of college. I got offered a full-time job. Initially, I think I just hired on as a temp because they needed help. I'm a very intellectually curious person, so I've since learned to channel that to, I just ask a lot of questions, like just out of genuine curiosity. So I started asking more of like why do things work this way? That allowed me to, drive a lot of results for them and make things more efficient at a young age. I knew nothing about logistics or supply chain at the time, but just kind of figured that out. Got offered another role there, grew into that where I was essentially forecasting all of the different distribution models within the US. They had sales channels of direct to consumer, so selling through their website, Amazon, a bunch of retail outlets like Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, Target, etc. So, we're selling in all these places. How much product do we need to bring in? How much do we have? What are the lead times? So that's I learned supply chain like by fire, like
Nice.
literally just being in it. And the reason I was trusted with that role is I just learned Excel, like something that I think I was supposed to learn in one of those classes that I never went to. But yeah, that's what ultimately led me there. And then from there, I really leaned on my dad and having conversations with him about like, how do I climb this? I don't have a college degree. The number one thing all these people are looking for in any job that's going to provide me financial comfort and stability is a degree. Still actively working towards it. Like I was going to school full time online while working full time. So that was the suck part. A lot of my friends, you're turning 21, you guys might go away for a weekend, like get hammered, have a really good time. Like I didn't have that luxury. I had a job and I had classes I had to take. So that remained the same for a period of probably like 3 or 4 years until I finished. But even then, I mean, still had fun in there. It was more just learning like a new normal and a new identity. Cause I think my identity growing up was, I'm just going to do what I'm told. I'm going to do what's normal. Like what's comfortable to me is like what I've been taught, but I failed at that. And like, I had to accept that. And that was the hardest thing for me is I just felt super, super stuck and lonely like in that moment. And I was like, all right, I got to find a way to crawl out of this.
That's a tough place to be, especially like as a young person.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so I got started in dad's business, similar, went to Iowa, didn't finish Iowa. You can assume the reasons why.
Yeah. You were in a harder environment than I was.
Number 2 party school in the nation. Went out there with no friends, but I came out with some lifelongs. Obviously I didn't go back. Went to Ivy Tech, started working dad's business. Same idea, right? But, the thing that I wish we both would have known is that we were both doing the exact same thing at the same time, just so we would have had another guy.
Because it's something you don't talk about.
No.
Like you're going to suffer in silence
today.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
If me saying that to that camera is uncomfortable, but I know that in conversations I've had with other people and others in my personal life, I know it's something that a lot of people go through, whether it's, I think the big one is that high school to college transition and trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
You hear people say college is not for everyone, but like it's not. It's
pivoted a lot more in the last 10 years too. You think
very
about
different
where the world's gone. So tell me a little bit after that. How did you end up at Chomps? Because you and I eventually reconnected in like 22. So I got to bridge the gap somewhere and figure out where to.
Yeah. So in those conversations I was having with my dad of like, what do I do? Like, where do I go from here? It's, hey, just keep your nose down. Like, just keep working and getting that degree, that piece of paper that everyone says you need. I guess it was a chip on my shoulder that I didn't have it because I knew there were a lot of people that I'd worked with at this point in time that had, degrees in supply chain that I was outperforming in their own field. And it's something I'd never studied a minute of. I was literally learning it as it went on, reading about it, like more like macroeconomic events, like, if there's a recession, like how is that going to impact the business? So I'm not learning that in a classroom. I'm learning it like in real time. But in that, my dad's a professor at IU. Negotiation is something that he teaches like at Indiana. And I knew that. So, I'd kind of been asking him, like, what do I do? Like, how do I go to my employer and say I want more money? And he kind of taught me, you don't want to just, and this is for anyone listening, if you want more money at a job, that's ultimately a goal most of the time. You never want to go to your boss and say, I need to make more money. Because the rebuttal is like, okay, what more are you going to do for me, right? Like you signed a contract or an employee agreement to do a certain job at this rate. yeah, there might be like cost of living increases or something like that. But if you want like a real needle mover at home, you've got to figure out what you can do to provide more value for them, to just create more value for yourself. And my dad had told me, I think he grew up with parents that worked at GM, like in the Anderson area when Anderson was popping, which has been a minute, but yeah. So during that time, so I think he had grown up under the period of like loyalty and like working for the same company for a super long time. They're going to take care of you with a pension. Those times are mostly gone. So I think my dad being able to zoom out and give me that insight was super helpful because again, like by this point, I'm still kind of operating under the assumption of this is what I'm supposed to do. So he was like, what is your market value? Like, what do you need to do? So, from that, it's me going around looking at like jobs that I'm doing right now. They all say that they need a degree, but something in me just said apply anyway. I did. I started putting in applications at just other like larger companies because for some reason I still thought big corporations are the way to go, right? Like if you have a Fortune 100 name on your resume, like that means something, and it does in a lot of situations. So yeah, I landed at Whirlpool, which caused me to have to relocate, which I thought was super sick. Like the concept of someone's going to pay to move me to another state, just like sounded awesome. And it had a bit of a personal tie too. So my mom's parents, like a lot of my best memories growing up were at their house, and they lived in Southwest Michigan, right on the lakes. We could go to the beach and all that kind of stuff. Whirlpool happens to be headquartered in a town adjacent to where they grew up in. So I knew the area really well. All of my best memories from childhood, or most of them, were like at the beach with them, having good times there. I think my both grandparents were still alive at that point. So I took the job, relocated to Michigan. Yeah, started working at Whirlpool. Was the only one on this team that didn't have a degree. Still kind of felt a chip on my shoulder of like, this goes back to like the baseball days when we were 9. Like I still have that competitive fire in me where it's like I'm going to outperform every single one of these, even though on paper, like you guys should beat me 10 times out of 10. So at Whirlpool, what I was doing was managing the operations of local distribution centers. So think, you buy a new washer and dryer, someone's got to come out and install that. So you're, managing the labor, forecasting the day for the drivers because there's DOT regulations of how long each driver can be out on the road. So each new job I take, I'm learning something new about supply chain until I've eventually hit all facets. Yeah, at Whirlpool, I was managing that local distribution center operations on the East Coast from, I think it was Maine to Virginia. I think I had 12 or 13 facilities. Got to travel a lot for that one. Was a lot of fun, just huge learning experience. I also learned pretty quickly I didn't love big corporate culture. There was a lot of bureaucracy. Like if you looked on paper of how the facilities were running and how they were performing of what I was managing, they were beating my teammates by quite a bit. But the degree thing kept coming up, which I did eventually get while I was there. I think I graduated like 2 or 3 years into that journey. Still, I couldn't get a promotion because then there's more bureaucracy that comes into play. It just didn't ring well with me. So it's like if I'm going to put in, all literal blood, sweat, and tears at times to growing myself and like doing well for a company, like I want to be directly rewarded for that. So I just didn't think a massive culture with other motives is going to be the best place to do it. So I started looking again, and again, just taking what my dad had taught me of just like concepts of negotiation as leverage. Like in any business setting or even employer-employee setting, you would hope there's like a dynamic of personal relationship involved, which there is. Like I think, if anyone listening, if you're going to take a job, in my experience, I've learned that you're more working for your boss, not the company on the day-to-day. So you really want to work with someone that you feel comfortable with, that's interested in your personal interest and in your growth trajectory. But yeah, I ended up finding Chomps, which is it's like a beef, or no, we skipped one. So I went to a company called Blue Ground. What was enticing to me is that it was the polar opposite of a large corporation. They had raised a lot of funding. Like Silicon Valley Bank, I think, was one of their huge backers. It was just like a long-term Airbnb type of company. So they would lease an entire apartment building, furnish it with all items that they produce on their own, like in Turkey, China, etc. Bring them into the U.S., have crews go out and set up these apartments and sublease them out to people. It was whenever like COVID was really big, so the nomadic lifestyle got really big in the U.S. So I kind of wanted to be part of something that was new and trendy and not big corporate. So that seemed like a perfect fit for me. So when I was there, it was a lot bigger of a jump in terms of breadth of responsibility. So I was responsible for all supply chain operations in the U.S. So I think we had 10 or 12 markets when I first started. Then it grew to like 20. I was on the road all the time at that job. I think most days I would, still living in Michigan, I would drive from my home to the O'Hare Airport. It was like a 2-hour drive on like a Sunday, fly out somewhere, be there for 3 or 4 days, fly home, do my laundry, rinse and repeat. Which, that was taxing in its own right. Also a lot of fun because I'm probably like 23, 24, something like that around
good
this
time
time.
age.
Yeah, it was a good experience. Got hit with a moral dilemma along the way where I don't necessarily want to get into the like nitty gritty details, but it was a situation where a federal regulatory agency called me when I was in the San Francisco airport. And like, I'll never forget this, the guy's name. I get this phone call and I answer it, about to board a flight home. And this guy, identifies himself as an agent from whatever agency and says like, we have a problem. And these documents like had my name on them, so that we had imported into the US, because I would, be the importer or the acceptee of the importer of record on everything coming into the US. It was like drinkware going into apartments. And they had worked with a known supplier, which I have no control of this part of the supply chain. I'm merely receiving goods. They're in different markets in the US. Then I have to make sure they get into an apartment so that it's time from leasing the building to getting it filled as short as possible to shorten that cash cycle for the business. Well, I guess the supplier was notorious for using lead paint.
Oh no.
And I had no idea. So I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna fly home. So I, rebook. I was staying in the apartments in that market, and that's where ironically the issue was like in San Francisco. So I stay out there for a few weeks, figure that out, obviously raise the issue and escalate it internally, like what the heck is going on. I was just given like things that I was morally opposed to, just directions from the people I reported to, and it was give them product that is good, like that came from another supplier. And I was like, absolutely not. Like I'm already uncomfortable. I'm already having to stay out here multiple weeks. So yeah, I was quickly looking for jobs whenever that happened. Found one, resigned immediately, and that's what got me to Chomps. When I was at Chomps, or I guess my job at Chomps rather, was just leading all logistics and fulfillment operations. When I started at Chomps, they were a lot smaller along their journey. They're now kind of the unicorn of the like snacking and meat protein snacking space.
No, it's great. We have them
Yeah,
at home.
huge. Yeah, I still eat them every day.
Incredibly expensive.
Yeah, I have to pay for them now, which is brutal. But yeah, they're super good. But yeah, so took the job at Chomps, still living in Southwest Michigan at the time. But yeah, it's essentially combining all the plethora of experience that I've gotten. I would say I learned like at hyper speed. That's something I've learned about myself. I ask a lot of questions. I think I've learned to really focus on what I don't know and then find someone that knows that, ask them questions, understand how to apply it to what's relevant for me. And yeah, through that experience, I just grew a lot when I was at Chomps. I had to lead a lot of people for the first time. The hiring process, I got to learn a lot about what they do very well, which I've, now applied that to my business today. But yeah, at Chomps, I would say is when I would say I underwent my next low, if you want to call it, like in life. So when I was working at Chomps, I'd gotten married at that time, wasn't working out for a plethora of reasons. I'll never disparage another person, but I just wasn't happy. Was grinding absolutely, and I know that had a big part in it, right? So I just wasn't happy. Tried to work things out, like talk through things, just was not working. So get divorced, feel pretty down and like lonely at that point, right? So it allowed me to take a step back and understand that you can always chase something bigger, something better. Like you're never going to be the best at what you do at a macro scale. Like there's one Elon Musk, right? Like I don't want to be Elon Musk. Like I've learned that, and that's
Seems
what
like a tortured life to me.
Yeah, and I think that's what I learned is like that's what I was chasing is I had this chip on my shoulder of like, what can you do without a degree, or how much money can you make without a degree? And it gets to a point where you can afford a comfortable life that you once would have dreamed of. And I had to start really taking a step back and thinking, what am I going to be proud of later on? Like I can, I have this saying I go by now that revenue is loud, but regret is quiet.
Wow.
And that's what I was chasing my whole career before I was ever generating revenue. I was just chasing a larger and larger salary. And when you talk to people about it, it's like, oh, wow, if you share numbers and whatnot. And I don't know, I still feel weird to this day, like doing that. 'Cause it's not, to me, that's like not what makes me the most proud now. You know, I realized that I wanted to have kind of like the Trinity, you know, like you've got a healthy family, you've got faith, and you've got security for your family. And like that's what I've learned is most important to me. It's like when I'm at this new low of, you know, what am I going to do? You know, I'm alone now. I live in another state that I'm happy living in. I had friends there, still good friends to this day. But like, how the heck do I crawl out of this? You know, it's like I've worked my way out of this hole of being this stuck kid out of college that had no idea what his plan was, didn't make a goal or think what my plan was. I just kind of figured it out along the way, achieved that. But like now I feel even lonelier than I did at that time. So I was like, man, like I've got to dig deep again. And I just thought back to, you know, like hard moments growing up, people that I've talked to that have gone through hard moments. And I'm like, yeah, I've kind of got two choices. You know, I can sit here and sulk and continue on this trajectory and make an income that sounds really cool and can like afford me things. But if I don't have anyone to do things with, for what? Like, what's the point of grinding that hard? So yeah, stayed at Chomps, was pretty open with them about like what was going on. Luckily, super supportive people. If you guys don't eat Chomps, you should try it. It's a shameless plug. And it really is a good product. Sean knows.
Great. A great product.
But yeah, when I was there, the founders of Chomps were really intentional about setting time aside and talking to people. I'd gotten to build a decent relationship with both the co-founders, and they had told me something that was uncomfortable to me, which is, you know, hey, one day, obviously, you know, Chomps might not exist in what it is today, whether, you know, they went public on the stock market or some PE firm bought them or some other larger snacking conglomerate bought them. Like, you should focus on building a personal brand. Like, we know you're very good at what you do because it's netted us good results, but you've got to show other people that you can do that same thing while you're still here. So I've always been the guy that I show up to work, I work really hard, and I don't talk about what I'm doing because it's weird. Like, I'm just doing my job. Like, what am I supposed to talk about, right? So there was a woman that worked at Chomps, Zoe's her name. She was like an influencer. So like out completely agnostic of the work that she did. She was like an influencer. I think it had to do with like gaming or something like that, but had a really large following. So I was like, hey, you know, the co-founders just told me I should focus on this. Like, what do I do? And she's like, just hop on Twitter and tweet about common sense things in supply chain to you. Obviously don't share anything confidential, but like share what you're working on and why. So I did that. Felt super weird. Have the same Twitter account to this day. I think that was like 4 years ago today. So I must have been like 26 at the time because I'm 30 now.
Wow.
Probably like my third or fourth tweet ever. I had worked on this project that I thought was pretty cool. This was pre-AI, so now anybody can do this in like 8 seconds. But back then it was like a cool feature. But I built a heat map. So it was essentially, hey, here's where all of our orders are going for all different channels, and then weighted it out by the size of the order, like how many units you're moving there. Reason I wanted to build that is just to visualize like where is all this stuff going. You know, the company had scaled probably like 8 to 10x by this point.
Wow.
From me being there until this point, which was only a few years. So it was on a just massive like hockey stick trajectory growth. So I tweeted it out and, you know, removed any like pertinent information. But hey, I'm doing this analysis. It's for the purpose of completely redesigning the supply chain network. You know, just having a true understanding of where all of our product is coming in from, where it's going out, and how much we're paying in transportation costs per unit to each of these locations. And then just doing a weighted analysis on like what actually makes sense and what's sustainable from an operational perspective. So I tweet this out. I get a DM, like I got like 2 likes on it or something. Like it was not a viral tweet by any means, but this guy's like, you know, hey, can I buy some of your time to run this for my company? And I, you know, kind of got the light bulbs turning of like, yeah, I mean, I think I can do that. So again, call my dad. My dad's the person I always call on whenever there's something like new, especially in like a professional setting. My dad had a couple like entrepreneurial endeavors that weren't like, my dad wouldn't consider himself an entrepreneur, but like he had at least dipped his toes into that space. Also had a long career at the IRS. So I knew he understood like tax implications of doing this kind of thing, which is what I was most afraid of. So yeah, my dad's like, yeah, just, you know, start an LLC. I'm like, okay, how do I do that? And he's like, just Google it. So I Google it, figure it out. Started or applied for the LLC like the next day. Probably was all fully set up and running like within a week. So now I'm like, okay, I can like legally accept payment, like as not just being a 1099 of this guy's company. Because I think the first thing, the light bulb that went off in my head was, if I have 20 followers or whatever I have on Twitter now, and someone's willing to pay me for my time, if I just stay consistent with content, then I think more will probably trickle in if I do a good job. So I thought of content, and still do, as like digital real estate. Like, it's always there. The most helpful videos that I ever find are the ones that have 200 views from 6 years ago. Like, it's some guy that's sitting in his office or like in his truck, and he's taking an iPhone video just talking about like his actual lived experience. I get way more from those than, like the super high quality like production videos that have millions of views. 'Cause I
Like
think
the one we're on right now.
Yeah,
Without the
exactly.
views, I guess.
Those will come. Those will come. Yeah, it's like I just got to stay consistent. So talk to this guy. He's saying he's willing to pay me what I felt like was an absurd amount of money for a very short amount of my time. I do the project, stay in close contact with them, nets them a lot of savings that's like directly back into their pockets. And he was like, "This is insane. Like, like, how do you know how to do all this?" I'm like, "Well, that's just, it's like literally my job. Like, that's all I've known." So then he like sent out like some kind of testimonial tweet, I think, and I got a lot more inbound leads from that. So I'm like, okay, now like we're kind of onto something. And again, like right before this or shortly before it, probably I'd say about a year before this was again when I'm at that new low and like feeling super stuck. So I'm starting to build momentum. I don't have some 5 or 10 year goal in mind. Like, I'm not acting with confidence every day to like crawl myself out of this hole. Like, I feel every day in that year, like I felt stuck. Like, I felt buried. I felt like I had no idea what to do, but something in my head just kept telling me, like, do something that you're going to be proud of later on. Like, do something that if you have kids one day that they're going to be proud of. Like, just make that one simple decision today. So like, that's all I focused on. Ended up working out, did a lot more of those projects. They eventually came back to me, all these consulting engagements, and a couple of them said, hey, would you be willing to be my warehouse, like be my 3PL, those are the relationships that I'd always owned. And I guess for people watching, a 3PL means like third party logistics. So let's say Sean manufactures Bibles let's go cups.
Number
Sean,
one, no, go with it. Number one
Bibles.
selling book in the world.
Yeah. So Sean's printing these Bibles, literally and figuratively, and he doesn't want to deal with storing all of this in a warehouse and making sure they go where they need to go, making sure that they're boxed correctly to go to Amazon, making sure they're labeled correctly to go into Target and all these different places. So Sean hires a 3PL to store his product because Sean doesn't have to build a new pole barn on his property to store all of this, get relationships with carriers, and have to deal with truck drivers all day. So that's what we do. So I started one. I was talking to my wife, and I'm like, hey, I'm a really risk averse person. So I'll also put that out there. I don't want anyone to think that I had mountains of cash or anything like that saved. I did not. Like, when I say I was at like rock bottom, new low, I was at rock bottom, new low. I was not in a financial position to go secure like a lease on a warehouse or anything like that. So I'm talking to my wife about the opportunity and what I think it will take. Thankfully, she was super supportive. And she just said, like, yeah, I mean, if you think this is something that you can do, like, go after it. At this point, we have no children.
This is after you moved back to Indiana?
Yeah, we skipped that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so at this point, I'd moved back to Indiana, just in that low point. Like, I realized I've got people around here that are friends. I don't have family around me. And, I rediscovered, like, family is more important to me than anything else. So again, like, trying to like build that trinity or whatever you want to say, of trying to take the walk in faith, trying to build closer relationships with family, just trying to be more present in that area while also continuing to build stability and comfort. This opportunity presents itself. Talked to my wife. Her best friend's dad from college owned a business that had, he was selling like medical devices. He had a warehouse in Indianapolis. So I'm like, hey, when we go to lunch with her one day, I'm like, this is super weird, but can I have your dad's number? And she's like, yeah, like, why? So I kind of explained it, and I talked to her dad, go visit the space. Long story short, I subleased space from him for, what I was comfortable paying at the time, which was not much. So very grateful to have had those stars align. Take that on. First truck comes in, and I'm like, man, seen thousands of these unloaded in my life, but I've never unloaded one of these. So again, trial by fire, like figured that out.
You physically unloaded it.
Yeah, some of them in the beginning, yeah. And then he had a couple of guys working for him that are now working for me. They would unload them. I'm learning things from them all the time, still to this day. And I think that's the number one thing I learned during that journey is you have to always be learning, and you have to be humble and know what you don't know. Like, I don't know everything about running the business that I run today. It's probably statistically done very well and been successful by most people's measures, but I don't know everything there is to know, and I never will. So I've got to surround myself with people that can fill in the gaps. And yeah, learning that early on just like helped me be able to scale it.
Wow. So again, you and we reconnected in 22, I
Yeah.
believe, when you were moving back. And at the time, Casey and I were running our little rental totes company.
Yeah.
And you go, hey, I'm moving back. Would you mind moving me into my apartment? I go, I haven't seen you forever. I'd love to catch up. So like, and to be honest with you, I had no idea that was like a low moment. I know you were with then like your now wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you guys were so nice and offered me chomps. And I was like, Casey, how's y'all Cody? Yeah, we haven't talked in forever. And like this whole backstory, this whole piece that nobody else knew that was going on.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I was proud of you in 2022 working at Chomp. I'm so proud of what, like, taking that step.
Yeah.
So now as we've gone through this story, you broke out. You were dual career at the time, so you were doing kind of both things.
Yeah. There was a period of probably like 4 months where, and also it's kind of weird, right? Like you have a job. That's the only security I've ever known is a W-2 income. So the whole concept of I have to now do something I've never done before, which is be a salesman and acquire new clients to build financial security is a very daunting and scary thing for a guy that's like pretty antisocial like me. Like I'm not an entertainer that's, taking people out and showing them a great time all the time. I do that now because I have to, and it is a fun part of the job. But yeah, back then I was terrified. So I held on to the W-2 job, still gave Chomps everything I could give. Admittedly, that's where I really learned the concept of every day you have 100% to give, and you've got to choose how to allocate that. As more clients started to come on board and as order volume picked up for the clients that I had, it meant that my wife Maggie and I couldn't walk in there, at nighttime and on the weekends and pack all these orders ourselves. Like there was too much work to do that. Business naturally, with growth started to become like more financially healthy. So I'm like, all right, we got to like hire people and like do this the right way. And I've just got to take a bet on myself. Like, I think this is the point where that was probably the first time I felt the confidence to take a leap like that. Because literally my whole life until that point, I was not confident. I still struggle with confidence, like to this day. It's a real thing. And Maggie, my wife, like instilled in me, like, yeah, like you can do it. Like you're a smart guy. Like I've seen you work harder than anyone else. Like you can figure this out. So with her belief and blessing, I quit my job at Chomps. I told them thank you and still have a good relationship with all of them. But yeah, I took the leap to do this full time because I was literally taking meetings out of the conference room. I think they started to notice something was up because my background changed. Like I wasn't at home because I usually worked remotely and I wasn't visiting warehouses a lot. I was in a conference room with like a blank white wall. And they're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, where are you?
But I was literally packing orders in between phone calls, like, because it got to that point where something had to be done every day.
Wow. Lots of lows along the way.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Hockey stick now, right?
We hope so.
We hope so.
Yeah.
You quit your job in what year? 23?
24.
2024.
I think it was 24, yeah. Yeah, it's like whenever you moved me into that apartment, which I had moved in with Maggie, my wife, in one of her apartments. We were upsizing into a bigger one. So like you gave us those totes because we had to get everything from the ground floor or third floor like up to the next one. So yeah, I think that would have been probably 2023-ish whenever we did that. 2022, 2023. I was at Chomps. So after that point, I'd still worked there and just, had a normal full-time job for like a year and then started it somewhere in the middle.
And you've scaled a lot since then, just in the 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah, like the business?
Yeah, the bill.
Yeah, it's gone crazy. There's like a lot more zeros involved than I ever thought I would see. And again, like I've learned through that, like I kind of got caught back in the trap and caught myself of the chase because it's, can I generate $1 million in revenue? A kid coming from Pendleton that grew up eating free lunches. Like that's not supposed to happen. That's insane. So, that happened like in the first year, and then a 4.5, 5x the next year. And then this year will a little more than double again. So it's been super crazy, and like more than anything, just a really humbling experience. Cause I think I've learned a lot about what I don't know. You think you've got a lot more things figured out than you really do. And I think I've really learned the most, again, like coming back to that Trinity, I got caught in that chase. So, with the business now, I'm seeing more zeros, I'm doing well, and I'm feeling proud of myself. All those moments kind of come to a halt, and you figure out what really matters. Because my wife, comes to me one morning and is like, tells me to meet her for coffee. And I'm in the warehouse, admittedly feeling not annoyed, but just like, hey, like, I'm busy. Like, what are we doing? So I go and meet her for coffee, and she gives me a hat, like a dad gang hat, which is now like one of my favorite brands in the world. So I find out I'm having a baby. So like in that moment, I literally couldn't think about anything else other than like, I'm going to be a dad. Like, this is awesome. Like, I was so happy. And like, I think that taught me like my true pride in life is going to come from anything related to parenting and like anything related to family. Cause like at this point, I've already done things several times that I wasn't supposed to do on the professional side, but like none of that matters if I don't have a family to like build around and build for and enjoy things with in life. So yeah, that gave me a whole new perspective. Got caught in the trap again because getting more clients. I've learned that it can be, like when you're in your low points, you're dreaming about high points. You're either doing that to keep yourself going throughout the day to just stay distracted, right? Of where do I want to go? Like, what could life look like? And it feels like just daydreaming. Or, you can sulk and continue to feel low and like sad, and that's okay. There's a time for that, like where you have to just feel what you feel. And I've been awful about that, like my whole life, of when I feel sad and whatnot, like it feels super uncomfortable. So I would try to avoid it by like just daydreaming or something like that. And because of that, I'm never actually like feeling those feelings. I never got out of it. All I ever was doing my whole life was daydreaming, So I learned if I can just sit with these feelings and be uncomfortable in this way for a little bit, it's going to allow me to be in a mental space to be uncomfortable again, like for the sake of growth. But yeah, I get caught in the trap of growing the business and going out and getting new clients, keeping them happy. Busiest time of the year for us is like Black Friday and Christmas. So November and December unironically aligns with the busiest family time of the year. Like you've got family coming in from out of town. Everyone wants to get together, have the kids together. That's taxing for anyone. If you're unemployed and you're traveling with little children, like that's a hard thing to do. Our child is born in the busiest time of the year, November 22nd, which is in this year, like peak right before the single busiest shipping day of the year. I can't be there. And I'm kind of scared because it's, every year it's our biggest one. So really relying on the team, at the warehouse. I tried my very best to just like be super present in that moment and share all those moments with Maggie and with Jameson, our son. And his birthday every year for the rest of his life is going to be during dad's busiest season of the year.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't know that and doesn't care. Like is dad here for my birthday? Does dad get me a cool gift? Or like, do we have a fun experience together? Like those are the things that he cares about. So I think for me, it's a pretty humbling perspective of, even though it's the busiest time of the year, like the most, I might have the most people relying on me than I've ever had from a customer perspective, from, employee well-being perspective. But like all of my passwords, no one hack me, like contain, contain his birthday. And for me, it really serves as like a daily reminder of like, hey, this is your busiest day of the year, but your busiest day of the year doesn't have anything to do with the warehouse. It has nothing to do with business. Like it has everything to do with what's most important, like at home and with family. And yeah, I mean, that's been a journey that I really haven't hyper focused on until this year, where I think you saw like a Facebook post I made where, and again, genuinely for anyone listening, like I don't have it all figured out. I will be the first to tell you that I've gotten out of a lot of low points in life. I'll come to a lot more low points in life and I'll find a way out of those too. But if anyone does feel stuck, like in any kind of way, whether it's a career or not knowing how to get started, I'm sure my Facebook page or something will be linked to this, but you can reach out to me and I'll help you like get unstuck, like just from a pure, if you need a person to talk to, you need motivation, that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd made a post essentially offering up the same thing. And in that, I mean, it's, again, like numbers that I'm seeing are a lot larger than anything I ever thought I would personally be responsible for or have been a part of. But the most important thing to me is like family. So like I really made a commitment to myself this year that like this is the year that I dial that in. And the business is still growing. So my demands at, you know, from a company perspective are a lot more now than they ever have been. And it, hopefully, God willing, it'll continue to grow that way. But it's made me be a lot more efficient at work, so that the amount of time that I'm working is a lot less than it was previously. You know, there was a period of time like during that busy season where it's my son's birthday, it's Thanksgiving, it's Christmas time, where I was home maybe 3 to 4 hours a day, literally, to sleep and shower and then leave. And it's, yeah, I mean, saying this now, I just feel awful, but just vulnerably, like it was not a good thing. You know, like I was after that chase of, I got to make this happen at all cost. But the cost isn't always money. Like for me now, what I've learned is my time is demanded in a lot of places, and the biggest cost that I have to give up is time. So like it's time spent with someone else. So, you know, I'm in the warehouse at this point from God, like 5 a.m. until 1 a.m. a lot of days, like the following day, literally working, like doing physical work. Thankfully somehow have employees that are willing to do the same thing or similar things. And yeah, but I was like, I can't do that again. Like that's not, I missed out on too many milestones. I saw too many cool things happen with my son, like from a text message from my wife. I was like, man, I just can't continue to do things this way. So yeah, it's been huge focus for me. I feel more imbalanced now than I ever have. And I'm like 10% of where I want to be. You know, I'm trying my absolute best. I'm a guy that hates like weekend plans because I grind so hard during the weeks. Like I truly want to relax. But again, it's like, you can't think about that. Like I got to think about my password of my kid's birthday. It's like, I want to be there with my son, getting new experiences, like doing fun things with my wife and I, or with her parents or with our parents. So I've just had to learn that like that can be fun for me too. Like and it is like, it always is fun, but it's more along the lines of like, I'm going to feel burnt out, but yeah, just now trying to find that new balance.
Yeah, and it's so hard to turn it off too.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
when you get home, I've always been one of those, and I'm sure you're the same way, especially if you're working the hours you are, is like the reset button.
Oh yeah.
Like the splash water in the face. Like how do I kind of like reset as I walk in the door?
I think of it as, have you ever had to, like your internet goes out and you have to reset the router?
Reboot.
And it's that tiny little button that's like 2 inches deep inside of a device. And you're like, how the hell do I press this? Yeah. So you have to go find a paper. It's like a big, even that in and of itself is hard to like hit the reset button. But yeah, it feels like nearly impossible at times.
It's a good thing you're in logistics. If you're looking for how to get better about efficiency, you know a thing or two about efficiencies.
Yeah. It's a double-edged sword. You know, and my wife probably gets frustrated because I am very like logical and efficiency focused. Like everything for me is pretty black and white. So like even when we have conversations, like I have to take a step back and be like, okay, like you sound like a psychopath right now. Cause I'm like, you know, hey, you're saying this is wrong. Like we have to figure out a way to make it better. Like we have to change some inputs. Like that's literally how my entire brain is wired.
Well, as a guy who's married with 4 kids, I will tell you that you'll never get that right.
Yeah.
I think if you say that sucks or I'm sorry, it solves 90% of it. Right, Darren?
Yeah, there's a concept I learned and also during these low points, I always, you know, turn to therapy. So I've done a lot of like mental health therapy, and growing up, like I think like social media culture, like it's kind of viewed as weak, like especially as a man, and it's not. Like I think it's the most empowering, like strong, bold thing someone can do is, if I don't have the tools myself to look in the mirror and figure out where I'm going wrong, like I've got to have someone help me do that. So I've turned to that a lot, and it taught me a concept that you just alluded to of like radical acceptance. Like sometimes stuff is just hard, like life's just hard, and like it sucks, and you have to learn to just accept that and be okay with that and like rewrite the new normal or whatever it is that you want. But sometimes that's all you can do. Like, because if I try to make everything in my life more efficient, I will be, and I have tried to do that. It's not a good path to go down. Like
It's like the Rob Dyrdek stuff. I'm not sure if you've seen him in the last couple of years, but like he plans out his life to like every 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And he believes in that's how there's so many ridiculousness TV shows.
Oh yeah.
Is because he gets paid per TV show, so he tries to make as many as possible.
Yeah.
It's never not playing on MTV because they don't have music anymore.
Yeah.
It's tough. And God bless you for having the awareness, both mentally, physically, at work, thinking about your people. You talked about how big you are on servant leadership.
Yeah.
But taking the time to take care of yourself is important. And as dads, I think it's usually the last thing we put on the list because it's so easy to put everybody else on your shoulders.
Yeah, I think that's what I learned is, I'd met up with a couple people and they were asking me how the business was going. And I'm always reluctant to like share numbers because I don't ever want to come across as like I'm bragging or something like that, 'cause I'm truly not. Like I'm still very well aware that I'm a small fish and I will always be a small fish no matter how big this gets. I have no desire to have it be massive, right? But, in talking to them, they're, like impressed or, like saying that, that's really cool. And I'm kind of looking down at myself and like, at what cost, right? Like my wife is not as happy as she could be. I'm leaving her high and dry most of the time to go build this business and continue scaling it. My body looks awful. I feel awful every day. Like that's kind of the creep that happens. When it just creeps up on you, you lose sense of what's most important to you. Like truly, whenever you get something shiny and flashy in front of you. So that's where I always come back to that saying of like revenue is loud, but regret's quiet. It shows up. It doesn't show up at, on a P&L like regret, right? Like revenue is always going to be there. It's glaring. It's something to brag about. It's something that people will always listen to or turn their head at. But the missed calls piling up from my family members or, hey, I'm going to stay back home this weekend so I can work while, you go visit your family, to my wife or missing events at my son's daycare. Like that's the kind of stuff that, regret just, it's quiet and it creeps up on you. And then you kind of take inventory one day of all those things that you've missed and why you're feeling a certain way and why your body doesn't feel the way that you want it to feel and you just don't feel that healthy. And then that's when I really realized I got to do something about this.
I think you're doing great. I mean, like if for the hundreds of thousands of people that just watched this episode, I think that they can walk away and say, it is amazing what you've done. And at your age, the greatest opportunity is still ahead of you.
Yeah.
You got as much time with your family as you can to spend with them. I think, for feeling good, looking good, you look the same as you do in that little picture when you're 9 years old, just a lot taller.
Yeah.
It's just, I've learned a lot from watching you, and I think you're doing better. And I think part of that is the fact that you've been down the path of places you don't want to go and you don't want to go back. I think it's the active pursuit of where do you want to be next?
Yeah.
And I think your family's going to be super grateful. They are now.
Yeah.
They love you.
Yeah.
Just as you.
For sure.
And I love you too.
Yeah, I love you too, brother.
Bro, so this was fun. So, Cody, why don't you, because I think what we'll end up putting out there is your Twitter. Why don't you tell everybody your Twitter? And then we'll let you skip down and get back to the grind.
Yeah. Yeah. If you guys are super bored and want to learn about supply chain, you can follow me on Twitter. It's just @ShipSmarter, like SHIP Smarter. Yeah, that's where you can find me. My personal Facebook page is out there. Like I said, just look up my name, Cody Branham. If you're feeling stuck and don't know how to get out of it and, you feel like you're in a rut, but you're truly ready to put in the work and have the hard conversations, like just call me. I stand nothing to gain from it other than helping someone and being the person that I wish I had when I was in the lows.
Brother, God bless you. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.